Today is day number 8 of the 10 days prayer marathon. 2 days to go before we finish the 10 days prayer marathon in the Daniel Challenge 2025 edition. And welcome. And the overarching theme is building undiluted faith in a faith diluting world. And today, day number 8, we are reading from Daniel chapter 8, verses 1 to 27. And for reflection, we are looking at Daniel chapter 8, verse 26. And it reads, "The vision of the evenings and mornings that has been given to you is true, but seal up the vision, for it concerns a distant future." So the sub-theme for today, day number 8, is undiluted faith is our recipe for conquest. So chapter number 8 is another complicated chapter where we see the visions. There is a dream, and that dream is given to Daniel. So Daniel has a terrible dream, because at the end of the chapter says he could not understand it. He was terrified about the dream. So what about this dream? Well, the dream, the good thing in chapter 8 is the terrible dream he has, but we have Angel Gabriel who comes to interpret the dream for him and tells him that this concerns about a distant future. And to some extent, there is also clarity comes as to which kingdoms are mentioned. So let's delve into it and see the undiluted faith as a recipe for conquest. So in chapter 8, as I said, Daniel had a second dream. The first dream is in chapter 7. And the second dream, chapter 8, he has a dream or a vision. He sees a ram. Now, what is a ram? A ram is a male matured sheep. So he has a ram with 2 horns standing besides the canal. So when you have the sheep, a lot of sheep, so you have the male sheep, the ram with horns, and they act as the security animals. They fight enemy sheep that come. So they are basically warrior sheep. So he sees a sheep with 2 horns standing besides a canal, and the horns were so long. That's the first thing that is so abnormal, because in a normal given circumstance, the ram has short horns. One of the horns was longer than the other, but grew up later. That's another abnormality that we take note of. And it says he watched as the ram charged towards the west and the north and the south, and the animal could stand against him, and no animal could stand against him, and no one could rescue from his power and his aggression. So it describes the powerful ram, and how he was able to defeat the kingdoms in the north and south and towards the west. So these are the areas that the ram goes to hit and conquer. As he was watching the ram terrorize the territories that are mentioned, there is suddenly a goat with a prominent horn in between his eyes came from the west, crossing the whole earth without touching the ground. He came towards the 2-horned ram he had seen, and standing beside the canal, and charged at him in a great rage. So here is the ram that has terrorized the west the south, and the north. Then here appears a goat with one horn in between the eyes, and it is running very fast, and it crisscrosses the earth, and then now charges towards the ram. So it's a fight between the ram and the goat. So he does not understand what this means, but we are taught more about the goat. So it says it sets itself up to be the great as the prince of the host. It took away the daily sacrifice from him, and the place of the sanctuary was brought low because of rebellion and the host of the saints. And the daily sacrifice were given over to it. It prospered in everything it did, and truth was thrown to the ground. Now, the goat comes with a special description that we need to take notice of. So when this goat comes and it charges and is so fierce with one horn in between its eyes, now it targets the holy place, the sacrifice, the temple or the sacred place where it's a worship place. And as it charges there, it is mentioned that the daily sacrifice is brought low. The mornings and the evenings. Now you see that the Jews had the prayer ritual of daily sacrifices at the temple. So they would have prayers in the morning, they would also have prayers in the evening. And they said these were brought low. But also there was a rebellion. And also it mentions that this God prospered in everything it did, and it brought the truth down to the ground. Now, as if this is enough, this God also targeted holy people, in that most of them, they were defeated by this God and they started to worship it. And this God had a lot of autonomy. So by this time, the Jews had stayed for long in the world, in the captivity in Babylon, and possibly there were new generations, and some had lost their faith. But we see that Daniel keeps his faith. And what is keeping Daniel to hold on up to the age he was is the undiluted faith. So those that had shaken faith, little faith, they had already been defeated. That's why we see that this God is targeting the holy people, and they are defeated. Some of them, they become rebellious. Their spiritual traditional rituals, they have been brought low. Their sacrifice rituals, they are no more. And there's a new shift. So the intensity of their religious rituals has disappeared, and very few people, possibly Daniel, is picked up as one of those who stood up to the very end. I just want to remind you that those people who have little faith, they are bound to easily give in to difficult situations when they come. It's only those who have strong faith that will still put up a fight, will still hold on up to the end. So Daniel was able to hold on up to the end because of his unshakable faith, because of his undiluted faith. So we see what is happening later on as the truth is trampled to the ground. Now, then he says, I heard a holy one speaking, and another holy one say to him, how long will it take for the vision to be fulfilled? Now, Later on, we understand that Daniel is standing near a canal, near a river, and this vision is taking place around that area. And the other side, there is an angel, and the other side, there is another angel. And these two hosts are speaking to each other. And Daniel is allowed to listen to the conversation that is going on. So he sees a vision, and later on, because he does not understand what is happening, then God allows a conversation between angels so that he picks up an interpretation. Then he says, when he heard another one shout, "How long will it take for the vision to be fulfilled? The vision concerning the daily sacrifice, the rebellion that causes dissolution, and the surrender of the sanctuary, and of the host that will be trampled underfoot." Now, this is one host, one angel shouting to the other angel in the other side, on the other side of the river. Just to say that this vision, this setup, we'll also see it in chapter 9, where now we see there is a canal, there is a river. Now, this canal is set for a reason that it splits the life on earth where Daniel is, and the life in heaven where he has not reached. So we see the other angel is on earth trying to he's an agent of Daniel in essence, and the other one, he is the one speaking the messages for the other angel to interpret to Daniel. So the other one is responding. He said to me, "It will take 2,300 evenings and mornings, then the sanctuary will be reconsecrated." So the figures 2,300 are the days in their time for calculation. But the good part is, after the days are gone, there will be a reconsecration. The sanctuary will be reconsecrated. It paints a picture of how life has become, where the holy ones have lost faith and they have become so wild and unholy. But God is looking at a time when there will be reconsecration of the sanctuary, when all is said and done. So Daniel hears about the message. So in chapter 8, verse number 16, "And I heard a man's voice from the Uri calling, 'Gabriel, tell this man the meaning of the vision.' As he came near the place where I was standing, I was terrified and fell prostrate. 'Son of man,' he said to me, 'understand that the vision concerns the time of the end.'" Meaning, say, this vision that you have seen is not a vision that will happen now, but is concerning the time towards the end. Now, in verse number 20 and verse 21, "The two-horned ram that you saw represents the kings of Media and Persia. The shaggy goat is the king of Greece, and the large horns in between his eyes is the first king." So there was a definitive description of the dream, the vision. So he says, the vision that you saw, the two-horned ram is representing the kings of Media and Persia. That's why there are two horns. And the shaggy goat, the king of Greece. So that vision was interpreted and it passed because it was in their context. It was about particular time. So it does not concern him, but he's told to know, because one thing why he's told is because God's people a lot of them, they are going to lose their faith by looking at the two kingdoms that will rise. They will set up schemes, and God's people will lose faith. They'll become unholy, and they'll bring desolation to sacred place. So this dream was a direct vision about the rise and fall of the kingdoms in his time. But in verse number 25, we are told that he will cause the seed to prosper, and he will consider himself superior. When they feel secure, he will destroy many and take his stand against the prince of princes. Yet he will be destroyed, but not by human power. So there's a further description as to how deceitful the kingdoms or the kings will be, in that they will use prosperity, but also to conquer and destroy those who are God's people. But what is interesting, it says he will be destroyed in the end, but not by human power. Because by human standards, there will be no king that will destroy the king of Greece, represented by the god. But there will be God's intervention. You see, when we have human kings who cannot be defeated by anyone, there is an intervention from the heavenly resources, and brings salvation to God's people. So how do you position yourself not to be enticed to prosperity, not to be enticed to rebellion, not to be enticed to immorality that will be caused by the kings and the kingdoms that will rise, shown in the vision, is when you have undiluted faith. So it becomes a recipe for your victory. So for you to conquer, you need to have undiluted faith, because there will be a lot more things coming, prosperity and all sorts of rebellion, and God's people will be targeted. They will lose their faith, they will fall into the trap. But those who have undiluted faith will be able to stand, and that's their recipe to conquer. So, but God will rise to fight for God's people, and they will not be concerned by what will happen later on. So this should excite you to say, even today, we have a lot more of rulers who are coming in various sectors of life, and they bring prosperity, and they are aiming at God's people, that they should lose their faith and trust in God. But you should stand on, build undiluted faith, and it will be a recipe for you to conquer. May you be blessed by God today and remain strong in your faith. Amen.